Once upon a time, hidden deep in the heart of a lush, green forest, there was a magical place called the Enchanted Forest. In this forest lived a community of tiny, beautiful fairies with wings that shimmered like rainbows. The fairies were known for their kindness and their ability to make plants grow and flowers bloom. Among these fairies was a young, curious fairy named Faye. Faye was different from the others because her wings were not as bright and her magic was not as strong. She often felt out of place and wondered if she could ever make a difference. One day, a terrible thing happened in the enchanted forest. The great, ancient oak tree at the center of the forest, which was the source of all the fairies' magic, began to wither. The leaves turned brown, and the flowers around it stopped blooming. The fairies were worried, for without the great oak, their magic would fade away. The fairy queen, a wise and gentle ruler, gathered all the fairies. "We must find the golden dewdrop," she said. "It is the only thing that can save our tree. But the journey is dangerous, and the golden dewdrop lies beyond the dark forest." The fairies murmured in fear. No one dared to go to the dark forest, a place filled with shadows and unknown dangers. Faye stepped forward, her tiny heart pounding. "I will go," she said softly. The other fairies gasped. "But Faye, your magic is not strong," they said. "How can you go alone?" Faye looked at the withering tree and then at the fairy queen. "Even small wings can carry great courage," she said. The fairy queen nodded. "Then go, Faye, and may the light of the stars guide you." Faye set off on her journey. She flew through the forest, her heart full of determination. As she entered the dark forest, shadows danced around her, and eerie sounds filled the air. But Faye pressed on, her wings glowing faintly with hope. She finally reached a hidden glen where a single golden flower grew. In its center was the golden dewdrop, shining like a tiny sun. Faye carefully picked the dewdrop and cradled it in her hands. Suddenly a dark wind swirled around her, and a voice boomed, "Who dares take the golden dewdrop?" Faye trembled but stood her ground. "I am Faye, a fairy from the enchanted forest. Our great oak tree is dying, and this dewdrop is its only hope." The shadows hesitated, then slowly retreated. The voice softened. "You are brave, little fairy. Go now, and save your forest." Faye flew back as fast as her wings could carry her. She reached the enchanted forest, just as the last leaf of the great oak began to fall. She poured the golden dewdrop onto the tree's roots, and in an instant, the tree began to glow. Its leaves turned green, and the flowers around it bloomed once more. The fairies cheered, and the fairy queen placed a gentle hand on Faye's shoulder. "You have shown us that even the smallest fairy can have the biggest heart." From that day on, Faye's wings sparkled with the colors of the stars, and she was known as the bravest fairy in the enchanted forest. And the great oak tree stood tall and strong, a reminder of Faye's courage and the magic of believing in oneself.